After falling on the porch, my daughter left me there overnight, claiming I was exaggerating. I lay in the cold until a neighbor found me the next morning. My daughter told everyone I was becoming senile, but she didn't expect what the doctor's report would reveal. I'm 71 years old, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing something like this. I've worked hard all my life, raised a family, paid my dues. But lately, I feel like I've become invisible. Or worse, like I'm in the way. And the person who's made me feel that way the most is my own daughter. Danielle moved back in with me 6 years ago. Said it was just until she got on her feet after her second divorce. I told her she could stay as long as she needed. She's my daughter after all. And I meant it. I figured a few months, maybe a year, tops. She never left. At first, I was glad for the company. I missed having family in the house. After my husband died, the place got too quiet. Danielle would cook dinner sometimes, help me carry in groceries, talk to me in the evenings. But over time, things changed. She stopped helping out around the house. I started doing all the cooking, cleaning, everything. She didn't pay rent. She didn't even offer to help with the bills. She just existed here, like it was her right. She started treating me like the help. Worse than that, she started talking down to me. At first, it was little things. She'd roll her eyes when I asked a question or snap at me for forgetting something. But then she started saying things like, "Mom, are you losing it?" Or, "You already asked me that twice." She even made jokes to people about me slipping. I overheard her on the phone with her friend once saying, "She's getting weird, like old people weird. I don't know what I'm gonna do when she really loses it." I just stood in the hallway and listened, my heart pounding. I didn't even recognize the woman speaking. I started second-guessing myself. Was I repeating myself more? Was I forgetting things? But I was still paying the bills, still reading, still writing, still doing everything I've always done. I felt sharp. But Danielle kept planting those little seeds of doubt. Then came the night everything changed. It was late November, cold and damp, and I was walking out to the mailbox just after dinner. The porch light had gone out the week before. I asked Danielle several times to fix it, but she kept putting it off. "I'll get to it," she said, like she always does. I stepped off the last porch stair and hit a patch of black ice. My legs went out from under me, and I landed hard. My right hip took the worst of it. Pain shot up my side, and I knew right away something was wrong. I couldn't move. Every time I tried, the pain was so sharp I thought I'd pass out. I screamed for her, over and over. It must have taken 10 minutes before she finally opened the front door. She looked annoyed. That's the part one can't forget, how annoyed she looked. Not scared, not worried, just bothered. "Oh, come on, Mom," she said. "You're not dying. You just slipped. You're being dramatic." I begged her. I said, "Please, Danielle. I think I broke something. I can't get up." She sighed. "I'll get you a blanket," she said. Then she shut the door. I waited and waited. She never came back. I don't know how to explain what that night felt like. The cold went straight through me. I couldn't move. My body started to shiver, then go numb. My face was wet from crying. I remember looking up at the stars and thinking, is this how I die? On my own front porch. I lost track of time. Eventually, I must have passed out. The next thing I remember was Mr. Halvorson, my neighbor, waking me up the next morning. He walks early before sunrise. He saw me lying there and called 911 immediately. At the hospital, they told me I had a fractured pelvis, a torn ligament in my hip, and mild hypothermia. One of the nurses said, "It's a good thing he found you. Another hour or two, and your body might have shut down." Danielle showed up mid-morning. She acted surprised, flustered, overly concerned, like she was putting on a show. I could see it all over her face. Fake. Every word. She told the doctor I was confused, that I'd been wandering outside at night, that I was having memory problems, maybe dementia. She said, she's been slipping for a while now, honestly. And the worst part? The doctor nodded, took notes, wrote it in my chart. That moment broke something in me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She wasn't just neglecting me now. She was trying to erase me, to make me look crazy, like I was some old woman who didn't know what day it was.
But that wasn't the end.
Later that day, a younger doctor came in, Dr. Myers. She asked me questions. Real questions. She looked me in the eye. She listened. I told her everything. Not just about the fall, but about Danielle. About the months of disrespect, the lies, the manipulation. She took it seriously. She ordered a full cognitive assessment, ran tests, interviewed me, went through my chart herself. 2 days later, she came in with the results. She said, "There's no cognitive decline. In fact, your test scores are above average for your age." I nodded. I already knew that, but it felt good to hear someone else say it. Then Danielle came in, still playing the concerned daughter. Dr. Myers handed her the report and said, "You might want to read this." Danielle's face turned white. She stammered something about being just worried and misunderstanding the situation. But the doctor didn't back down. "I've already contacted Adult Protective Services," she said. "There's going to be a follow-up investigation." Danielle didn't say a word. But I wasn't done. Because after that night on the porch, after laying there like garbage outside my own home, I realized something. She wasn't just a bad daughter. She was dangerous. And I was going to make damn sure she never had the chance to hurt me or anyone else again. I was in the hospital for nearly 2 weeks. I needed surgery on my hip, and physical therapy started right away. Danielle came by once, maybe twice. Each time she stayed for 10 minutes, brought nothing, and spent most of it texting. When she did talk, it was all damage control. "You know I didn't mean to leave you out there," she said. "I thought you were exaggerating, like always." I just looked at her. I didn't respond. There was no point. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. APS called me a few days later. They asked for a full statement. I told them everything. The emotional neglect, the manipulation, the night on the porch, the faked concern at the hospital. I didn't hold anything back. They opened a case immediately. After I was discharged, I couldn't go home. I couldn't walk on my own yet. The state arranged for me to stay at a rehab center temporarily. It was clean, quiet, and full of other people in situations not too different from mine. While I was there, I had time to think. A lot of time. I didn't just want her to get a slap on the wrist from a social worker. I wanted her to feel what she made me feel. Helpless.
Exposed.
Ashamed. I called my attorney. I'd used him years ago when we set up the trust after my husband passed. His name's Mark Feldman. Smart guy.
No nonsense.
When I explained what happened, his voice got tight. "She left you outside overnight and lied to medical staff? That's not just neglect. That could be criminal." I asked him what I could do legally, financially. He started with the house. "You're the sole owner," he said. "If she's been living there rent-free all this time, that's considered a tenancy at will. And now that APS is involved, you have grounds to remove her immediately." We started the process the next day. I filed an official eviction notice. Danielle was served while I was still at the rehab facility. She called me screaming. I let it go to voicemail. Then she started texting. "You're overreacting. You're seriously going to kick your own daughter out? I didn't do anything wrong." I didn't reply. Instead, I called the utility companies and had the accounts taken out of my name. The house was in my name, the mortgage long paid off. She had no legal right to stay there without my consent. Then came the kicker. Back when Danielle first moved in, she convinced me to co-sign on a small loan for her car. She promised it would be short-term. Like a fool, I agreed. Over time, I paid off most of it myself. She never made regular payments. I found the paperwork, called the lender, and confirmed I was listed as a co-borrower, but I'd paid off 82% of the balance. Mark helped me file a civil claim to recover the amount I paid. He said it was slim odds I'd recover all of it, but that wasn't the point. I wanted her served. I wanted her to sit in front of a judge and explain how she used her own mother. And APS? They kept digging. One of the investigators called and asked if I had access to my own bank accounts. I told them yes. But I'd noticed strange withdrawals last year. Small amounts, $40 here, $60 there. I thought maybe I was just forgetting. I wasn't. They traced several ATM withdrawals made from a card I hadn't used in over a year. Danielle had taken it from my drawer and was using it, then putting it back before I noticed. That turned it from neglect to financial abuse. The investigator told me quietly, "This case is going higher. Possibly even the DA's office." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was survival. 1 month after I filed the eviction, she was gone. The sheriff posted the notice, and she had 72 hours to vacate. She tried to stall, claimed she needed more time. Mark made sure she didn't get a single day extra. I returned to my house 2 weeks later. The place was a mess. Old takeout containers, broken blinds, stains on the carpet. But it was my house. And she was no longer inside it. I changed the locks. I installed a new porch light, one that comes on automatically at dusk. And I wasn't done, because I still hadn't told her what the doctors really found, not just about my mind, but about my body, because there was something in that report Danielle never saw, and it would change everything. Danielle had no idea what the full report from the hospital really said. I never showed her the second page, the part the doctor explained to me privately while she was out of the room. It wasn't just a broken hip or a torn ligament. The scans had picked up something else, a small mass near my lower spine. It wasn't there on my last x-ray from 2 years ago. The radiologist flagged it immediately. Dr. Meyer sat with me for over an hour. She was kind but direct. "We can't say for certain without a biopsy," she said. "But given the location and your age, we need to rule out something serious." It hit me hard. I kept it to myself for days. I didn't want Danielle using it, twisting it into another reason to paint me as weak, senile, a burden. I told no one, not even Mark. I scheduled the biopsy in secret and waited for the results alone in my rehab room. It came back benign. A cyst. Nothing dangerous. But for the first time in my life, I had looked death in the eye, and the person I lived with couldn't be bothered to throw a blanket over me. That kind of betrayal changes something in you. It sharpens you, strips away all the softness you've been clinging to. Once I got home and cleaned the house, I went through every drawer, every closet. I made a list of what was missing. Silver jewelry gone. My husband's old camera gone. Several savings bonds from the 90s that I'd kept in a manila envelope missing. I called Mark. He sent a private investigator. A week later, I had photos. Danielle had taken my jewelry to a pawn shop just outside of town. Sold it in small batches. The camera? Sold to a guy on Craigslist. The savings bonds? Still looking into those, but the investigator said he was confident she cashed them using your old signature, which is fraud. It wasn't just neglect. It wasn't just emotional abuse. It was theft. I filed a police report. When the officer came to my house to take my statement, he said something that stuck with me. "You're not the first parent this has happened to," he said, "but you're one of the few who fought back." Danielle had no clue what was coming. APS had already blacklisted her from being a caregiver for any vulnerable adult in the state. The civil case over the car loan was still moving through small claims court. And now, there was an active criminal investigation into financial abuse and theft. I didn't warn her. I didn't call. I let the system work. Then came the day I'd been waiting for. She showed up at my door. I didn't answer at first. I watched through the peephole. She looked thin, nervous, like someone who finally realized the world didn't owe her anything. She knocked again. "Mom," she said.
Please. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean for things to get so bad. I opened the door just a crack. She tried to push past me. I blocked her with my cane.
Don't, I said.
My voice was calm.
Clear.
"I have nowhere else to go," she whispered. I looked her dead in the eye. "You had 6 years," I said, "and you used every one of them to take. Now it's your turn to learn what that feels like." She opened her mouth like she was going to argue, but then she saw the police cruiser pull up to the curb. The officer stepped out, holding a clipboard. Danielle froze. "You've been served," I said. For the jewelry, the bonds, and the fraud. I hope you kept receipts. She backed away slowly. I'm still your daughter, she said. And I'm still the woman you left on a porch in 30-degree weather, I said. The officer handed her the papers. She didn't even look at me again. But I watched her walk away. She didn't know it yet, but the worst part hadn't even started. Because I still had one more move to make. The one that would take away the only thing she had left. The last thread Danielle still had was her job. She worked as an in-home health aide, not full-time but enough to get by. It was one of the few jobs she could still qualify for. No degree. No certifications beyond a basic care license. She'd always talked about going back to school, but she never did. She lived off charm and manipulation. Off people like me. What she didn't know was that after APS got involved, they opened a report not just on her behavior with me, but her entire employment history. Because when you're a registered caregiver in Pennsylvania, abuse claims go straight to the state database. And once the theft came to light, that flagged her license for review. She was under investigation by both APS and the Department of Health. I didn't even have to push it. I just kept telling the truth. I submitted every photo of missing property, every transaction from my bank, and all the texts she sent during the eviction. I handed over voice messages, emails, everything. 2 months later, I got the call. Danielle's license had been revoked. Not suspended, revoked. She would never be allowed to work as a caregiver again. Not here. Not in any state that checks national abuse registries. That was the day I finally slept a full 8 hours. But I wasn't done. The civil suit over the car loan came next. She didn't show up to the first hearing, so the court ruled in my favor by default. She owed me nearly $6,400. I didn't expect to get it all back, but I did want the judgment on her record. Something future landlords, employers, and creditors would see. Something she couldn't talk her way out of. Then came the criminal case. The DA decided to move forward with charges: fraud, financial elder abuse, and theft under $10,000. Danielle tried to claim she had my permission to use the money, that I was confused. She even submitted a written statement saying I was declining mentally. But the cognitive report from the hospital destroyed that lie. The prosecutor actually read it aloud in court. "Sharp as a tack," he quoted. "Above average for age. No signs of memory loss, dementia, or confusion." Danielle went pale in front of the judge. She took a plea deal, restitution, and 18 months of probation. No jail, but a permanent criminal record. She cried in court, said she was sorry, said she didn't know what she was doing. I didn't believe a word. After sentencing, she came up to me in the hallway outside the courtroom. She was shaking. I could see it in her eyes. She finally realized that I wasn't the weak, forgetful old woman she'd convinced herself I was. "You ruined my life," she whispered. I leaned close. "No," I said. "You did that when you walked away from me on the porch." She flinched like I'd slapped her. And I walked away. Now it's just me in this house. The same creaky floors, the same wallpaper my husband picked out in '89. But it feels different. Quieter. Stronger. Mine again. I had a new porch light installed last month, solar-powered, bright, with a motion sensor. It flicks on the second anyone steps near it. I like knowing it's there. I don't expect Danielle to come back. But if she does, she won't find the same woman she left lying in the cold. That woman's gone. The one who stood back up? She remembers everything. And she doesn't forgive easily.